Hello, Wheel of Time community, and welcome to the Wheel of Time Pod-Thru. I'm Teresa.
And I'm Tim.
And together, we're going to walk through Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time book series. How you doing, Tim?
I'm doing good. It's been an interesting week. How about you?
I am really happy that this week is over and ready to start the next week.
Not me. I got jury duty.
Yeah, that stinks.
Yeah. Anyway, my civic duty.
Before we get started, we just want to remind you that this is a reread. We assume that you've read the whole series, so there will be spoilers. You have been warned. All right, Tim, what are we going to be doing in today's episode?
Today, we will be discussing chapters 26 and 27 of The Great Hunt, where Rand has a lengthy conversation with Tom, and then Trollocs and fireworks. Chapter 26 is called Discord, and the icon is Tom's harp.
Here's a quick summary to act as a reminder for those of you who are not reading along with us. Rand is thrilled that Tom is alive and runs back to his room to grab his bundled instruments. He tells Huron and Loyal the good news, and Loyal says that he'd like to meet Tom. He's still concerned about encountering other Ogier, though, convinced that he's going to be in heaps of trouble once he finally does return to the steading. Rand convinces him to let future Loyal worry about that, and they both head to the Bunch of Grapes to see Tom. The innkeeper directs them to Tom's room and says that Dina will probably let them in to wait for him. When they get to Tom's room, they are allowed in by a young woman sitting on the bed juggling. Dina has a deft hand and a snarky attitude, especially towards Rand. Dina tells them that she is training to be the first female gleeman. Looking around the room, Rand quickly realizes that Dina is not just an apprentice, but also Tom's girlfriend. Tom comes in then, and Dina kisses him long enough to make Rand uncomfortable. He asks her to leave them for a while, promising to make it up to her later, and fondly asserts that she will be a court bard someday. After a quick introduction for Loyal and an inspection of Tom's instruments, Rand tells Tom about the Horn of Valere. At first, Tom does not believe that Rand has the horn until Rand tells him that Moraine verified it was authentic. He asks Tom's help in returning the horn to Shinar. He needs Tom's experience in maneuvering through the world if he, Loyal, and Huron have any hope of getting the horn back unscathed. Tom refuses, and Rand asks Loyal to give him a moment alone with Tom. Loyal goes down to check out the dice games in the common room, and Rand asks Tom about the Curathon cycle. Tom quotes some of the prophecies of the dragon and makes note of the herons embroidered on Rand's coat. He makes sure, again, that Rand is not traveling with any Aes Sedai, and Rand reassures him that he is done with them. He talks more about the prophecies and about how he won't be used as a false dragon. Tom tells him that at one point he thought Rand was the one Moraine was after, and he thought that he had known why, but if the Aes Sedai had let him go, then he must have been wrong. They talk a little about Owen, and Tom tells Rand that he's better off away from Aes Sedai. Rand tries again to convince Tom to come with him. He talks about glory, trying to play into Tom's sense of adventure. It's tempting, but Tom refuses, telling Rand that he and Dina love each other, and he has set up a comfortable life with her that he doesn't want to throw away. He also tells Rand that he wants a clean break, and asks that he not come back. Even if Rand doesn't mention the horn again, the temptation would eat at Tom, and he doesn't want to risk changing his mind. After Rand leaves, Tom is still lost in the temptation of the horn. He calls himself a fool, and the innkeeper, Zara, echoes the sentiment. Zara is an old friend who is comfortable speaking her mind with Tom. She tells him not to let himself get tangled up in an outland lord's schemes. She warns him that the game of houses has grown more dangerous in the last several years, and that murders are common these days. Tom tells her that he is out of the game, but Zara knows better. She tells Tom to stop performing at Lord's Manors, where the nobles pull everyone into their schemes, regardless of the fallout. Marry Dina and forget Desdemar. Tom doesn't want to ruin Dina's future with demons from his past. He chases Zara out, thinking about Rand and the horn. He deliberately decides that no Aes Sedai would have let Rand walk away if he had been what Tom had suspected, a man that can channel. Rand was out of it now, and so was Tom.
Part of what makes me so excited to see Tom again is how excited Rand is to see him.
Yeah.
Like, he's basically dragging Loyal with him and not taking no for an answer.
Definitely. So, what do we think about Dina? She's pretty feisty and not at all welcoming. In fact, she's pretty rude to Rand.
Yeah, a little bit. Dina's cool, but knowing how she dies always makes me feel sad.
Yeah.
More sad for Tom.
Yeah.
Because he does end up actually loving her. We don't get to spend much time with her, and I kind of like the idea of her like blazing the path of the first Glee woman. But this universe has so many characters in it that I understand Jordan not going there.
Yeah. Yeah. I do feel really, really bad for Tom, but I don't think I like Dina. Not because she's rude to Rand, because screw it, I don't really care. Be rude to Rand, that's fine. But because she cheats Loyal at dice.
Yeah.
It's like, do not mess with my Loyal. Like, you leave that Ogier alone.
Mama Bear came out on that.
So I don't care. Let her die. It's fine. So I thought it was funny how embarrassed Rand is when he realizes that Dina is Tom's lover.
Yeah, huh?
His Two Rivers upbringing is really coming out here. And I think it's cute. Like, he's not judging.
No.
You know, he's not sure what to make of the situation, and it makes him turn all red. It's just, he's such a hayseed. It's adorable.
Aw. Tom's rant about the men who call themselves players makes me laugh.
Yeah.
Not just because of the whole old men complaining about change trope, which I still find amusing even though I'm an old man now.
Get off my lawn.
Right. I find it funny because for years, the Wheel of Time fans have been hoping for some players to bring the series to life on the screen.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Tom would approve if he ever experienced IMAX.
Yeah, definitely. It's interesting to see Tom talk about how hard a Gleeman's life is.
Yeah.
Wandering from town to town, wondering how they'll try to cheat you this time, half the time wondering where your next meal is coming from. Usually he makes being a Gleeman sound like a good time, a life of adventure and excitement.
Totally.
This is a tiny glimpse into how far he's fallen from being a court bard, living in a certain amount of luxury, to being this wandering minstrel. He wants better for Dina. You know?
Yeah, I totally see that because he loves her.
Yeah.
Tom's love for his harp. It reminds me of a friend of ours. Her connection with her guitar is pretty tight. I can't remember a time I've ever seen her when she was not with it. It's more than just a nice and expensive guitar. It's an old friend and companion that she's been with for years. And I kind of see Tom's reaction to being reunited with a lost friend here.
Yeah, definitely. I can see that. I love that Tom does not believe Rand about having the horn. He's all like, I can take you to 20 people who say they have it. The Horn of Valere is like splinters of the true cross. Everybody's got a piece.
Yeah. Because unless you were there at the eye of the world or you stole it from a group of Trollocs like Loyal, it's really hard to believe.
Yeah, definitely.
But I love how quickly he changes his mind once he finds out that Moraine says it's the horn. Suddenly things got real.
Yeah, definitely. So Rand sends Loyal out so he can talk to Tom alone and ask about the prophecies of the dragon. Does Loyal still not know that Rand can channel at this point?
Yeah.
Like, I've kind of lost track of the timeline, but is Loyal still in the dark?
I think Loyal is still in the dark on this one.
Dude, that's not cool.
No.
Like, when does he find out? Like, is it not until Falme?
Oh, well, it's definitely by Falme because, you know,
I mean, the whole world
everything
figures
happens
that
in
out,
but I'm not certain. I want to say I can't remember exactly when. It is this book, but I can't remember exactly when.
That's not cool. Rand should have told him. Like, Loyal is a friend. Like, he's not just some dude that's around. Like, he's actually Rand's friend. And I think at this point, he's the only one of Rand's real friends that doesn't know.
Right.
And Rand can trust Loyal. You know, like, I think Loyal has proven himself. He should have told Loyal.
He had plenty of opportunity, too. Like,
they were alone.
In the alternate mirror world and all that other stuff.
I mean, to be honest, Loyal should have figured it out by now.
True.
But that aside, he is a young oak here. But I don't know. I think Rand should have told him.
I agree. This chapter is the first time we're exposed to the Creathon cycle. It's kind of cool how Jordan just drops this here. In my head, I see Tom getting into storyteller mode as he recites it and kind of getting into it.
Yeah.
It will be interesting to see how they do this in the TV show.
Yeah, it'll be fun. So Tom gives us two important parts of the prophecy. The first we actually talked about several episodes back, when Rand gets the heron brand burned into his palm.
Right.
Twice and twice shall he be marked, twice to live and twice to die. Once the heron to set his path, twice the heron to name him true. Once the dragon for remembrance lost, twice the dragon for the price he must pay. Since we've already talked about it, we don't really have to get into it right now, but this part of the prophecy keeps coming back over the next few books as Rand receives his marks.
Yeah.
And then the next part that he recites is, twice dawns the day when his blood is shed, once for mourning, once for birth. Red on black, the dragon's blood stains the rocks of Shell Ghoul. In the pit of doom shall his blood free men from the shadow. Mm-hmm. And if you've read Memory of Light, then you know that this is referring to the eclipse during the last battle and Rand's blood on the rocks of Shell Ghoul from the never healing wound in his side, so on and so forth. And, we'll get there eventually. And he also mentions Kalendor and the Stone of Tyr, which, will come up sooner.
Yeah, a lot gets wrapped up in here.
Yeah.
The interesting thing about this chapter is that if you've read the rest of the books, you know that Tom's totally smart enough to figure out that Rand is the Dragon Reborn.
Oh, yeah.
Rand is basically telling him everything he needs to know, which is why Tom keeps asking Rand, are you sure there's no Aes Sedai with you? Mm-hmm. After they talk about the prophecies, Rand mentions not wanting to be used as a false dragon, and they talk about Owen a little bit. Tom has to know.
Yeah.
Do you think he's trying to talk himself out of believing it?
Yeah, Tom is being intentionally obtuse here. He's using the theory that the Aes Sedai wouldn't have let Rand alone if he could channel as an excuse.
Yeah.
It's a logical conclusion to come to, but Rand has dropped enough hints that it's obviously not true. So Tom is clearly choosing to be ignorant. He's got a good life set up at the moment. He's earning money with Galdrian spending so much on entertainment.
Yeah.
He's in love with Dina and she loves him back. He doesn't want to throw it away to go hiring off with Rand.
And he's getting old now. He's got a limp.
Yeah, the last time he was with Rand, it cost him his leg.
Yeah, he chooses not to join in Rand's adventure.
Right.
Tom should be jumping at this chance to see the stories unfold and be part of the action. Mm-hmm. He'd love to be able to retell the story from that unique perspective.
Yeah.
The temptation is pretty big for him, so he tells Rand that he needs a clean break so that he doesn't have the opportunity to change his mind.
Yeah.
And Rand is so bummed by it. I
think we were all bummed by it.
Right? Yeah, I was. Rand is so bummed about it. He was so excited that Tom was alive, and now he doesn't even get to visit and talk with him.
Yeah. So the chapter closes with this little bit of foreshadowing from the innkeeper, Zira. She warns Tom that the game has grown extremely dangerous, and he needs to stay out of it. And Tom is so skilled at the game of houses that he starts playing without even realizing it.
Yeah.
Just a mention of it, and he's already scheming. So, what's really going to bake your noodle is, if Tom had said yes to Rand, would Dina still have died?
Ooh. Interesting.
Because I kind of feel like if Tom had said yes to Rand, Dina would have lived. Rand needed Tom.
That's very true.
And we've already established that the pattern supplies what the dragon needs.
Okay.
So I feel like the reason Dina died is because the pattern demanded Tom available for Rand. And Dina was what was holding Tom back. If it wasn't for Dina, like you said, Tom should have been jumping at this chance.
Yes, he should.
It played right into his adventurous spirit. It's the glory and the story of it. And, a chance to be part of the story, not just retell the story.
Right.
It's exactly up Tom's alley. But he loves Dina and he wants to have his life with her. So by taking Dina out of the picture, it was a circuitous route. But it led to Tom ending up back in Rand's life.
Right. When he needed it most. Yeah.
Through Matt, and Tarvalon and all that kind of stuff. But eventually he got there. So I kind of feel like if he had said yes to Rand, Dina wouldn't have had been killed.
Or, here's a counterpoint. We've seen that Rand is Rand is Tavern, and he causes people to make decisions that they necessarily wouldn't. Mm-hmm. Maybe just the fact that Rand happens to be here is the reason that the king decides to kill Dina. Like, maybe he wouldn't have made that decision if Rand hadn't been there. Maybe he wouldn't have been as interested in Tom if Rand hadn't been there. So maybe it's...
Was it Galdrian's men that killed him, or was it Barthane's men that killed
Oh, it was Galdrian's. It's Galdrian's.
Are we sure? Like, I know that Tom kills Galdrian because he thinks it is.
Yeah.
But are we positive that he got the right person?
I've always assumed it was. I mean, Tom doesn't make that kind of mistake.
I don't remember. I want to come back to this when we actually get to that point.
Oh, yeah, we're kind of jumping ahead.
It's possible that he got the wrong person. But I don't know. I mean, the reason she died is because they saw Tom talking to Rand at Barthane's party.
Right.
And they wanted to know what was going on. And, you know, one thing led to another, and that's why she died. If Tom had agreed at this point to join Rand, they might not have had to do the whole Barthane's party, or it wouldn't have played out the same way. And it's possible that if, you know, Dina came back from picking up her knives and Tom was like, okay, so this guy's an old friend and we're going to go do this thing. You can come with us, you know, and be a glee woman, hey, whatever. But I'm going to go do this thing. It's possible that Dina would have been like, screw you, dude, because we know she's feisty.
Sure.
And she might have left Tom right then and there. So if she had left Tom, then she would have lived. And, you know, I said, I mean, if Tom had been a part of it, their scheme wouldn't have played out the same way. So I don't know. I feel like it's entirely possible that if Tom had said yes, Dina would still be alive.
You know, I'm gonna side with you. I'm gonna say I agree. You're right. If Tom had actually decided gone, Dina would be alive.
Yeah, and we already know that the pattern is an unfeeling bastard that does all sorts of crazy shit. So
yep, exactly.
Yeah, like I don't know, man. It's interesting.
Unless, of course, you balefire it, then you can totally screw up the pattern. But yeah,
right.
And that wraps up chapter 26. Before we get to chapter 27, here's a quick word from our sponsors.
Today's episode of the Wheel of Time Pod-Thru is brought to you by Robert Jordan's School of Implausible Juggling. Learn to defy all rules of physics with this 12-week course, where the laws of gravity are mere suggestions and reality barely gets a nod. By the end of this program, you will possess the skills to juggle 20 colorful balls in a tight circle while sitting cross-legged, underwater. Robert Jordan's School of Implausible Juggling. It's close enough.
Chapter 27 is called The Shadow in the Night, and the icon is the Party Trolloc.
The Rock and Rollock. We need to get shirts made.
Yes.
Rand and Loyal walk the streets to the Foregate on their way back to their inn. Though they can hear the sounds of merriment nearby, these particular streets are deserted. They see another of those giant Trolloc puppets approaching, but Rand is lost in thoughts about Tom. Suddenly, the men with the puppet drop their poles, and the Trolloc leaps at Rand. He kills it with his sword, and the dark friends run off. Rand starts to tell Loyal that they have to get back to the inn and Huron when he's grabbed by the throat by another Trolloc. Loyal pries the Trolloc off of Rand, and the two wrestle, matching each other in strength. Rand wants to help Loyal, but he can't get a clear shot at the Trolloc with its sword without risking hurting the ogre. He reaches for the source, but can't grasp it. Eventually, Loyal overpowers the Trolloc, throwing it hard against the building, cracking its head and snapping its neck. Loyal is disturbed, having never killed anything before, but Rand tells him that he had no choice. They see more Trollocs disguised as puppets, and Rand thinks that if they can get to where other people are, they should be safe. They run towards the sounds of the crowd, but more Trolloc puppet people appear to cut off their path. The Trollocs herd them east toward the edge of the Foregate, where they won't have to worry about being seen. They reach the Illuminators' chapter house, and Rand hopes that the Illuminators will let them in. Loyal doubts it because they hold their secret so tightly. Suddenly, Selene appears out of nowhere, wondering what trouble they've gotten themselves into this time. Rand tries to get her to run from the Trollocs, but she's unconcerned. Rand searches for a way in, and Selene points out a very convenient door that is mysteriously unlocked. Despite Loyal's protests, Rand ushers them through the door and onto the Illuminators' property, figuring that it would be better to be arrested by the Illuminators for trespassing than caught and killed by the Trollocs. That's when Loyal tells him that Illuminators kill intruders to protect their secrets. They hide from a man and woman crossing the courtyard. The woman, Aludra, is making sure that the man, Tammuz, has everything ready. Rand sees that the courtyard is set up with large wooden tubes of fireworks and cords running from one end and behind a low firewall on one side. The three make their way across the courtyard quietly until Loyal accidentally knocks over a stand of smoldering sticks, which ignites one of the fuses. Rand shouts at the others to get behind the wall and pushes an angry Selene down to protect her with his body. The chapter house erupts with activity when the fireworks goes off, and Aludra comes out screaming insults at Tammuz, thinking it was his incompetence that caused it. They go back inside, and Rand and Loyal look for a way out. Loyal sees Trollocs in the alleyway searching for them, and Rand sees a woman looking down into the courtyard from a window in the house. Selene comments that they are trapped, and it will take a great man to get them out of it. Rand is tired of her talk of greatness and ignores her. He tells Loyal to take Selene into the alley, and he'll take care of the Trollocs. Loyal goes, and when the Trollocs move to follow, they are spotted by the woman in the window, who raises the alarm. Not wanting to channel, Rand grabs another firework, points it at the Trollocs, and lights the fuse right at the base of the tube. There is a burst of light and a deafening roar, and Rand is knocked down. When he gets up again, the Trollocs are gone, and he has blown a hole in the building. The chapter house is on fire, and the illuminators are pouring out of it, trying to put out the flames. Rand runs after Loyal, who tells him that Selene went back before Loyal could stop her. Rand turns to go after her, but Loyal stops him, saying that he won't do her any good if he's captured himself. Finally, Rand agrees, and they head back to the inn, where the innkeeper hands him a note sealed with a crescent moon and stars. In the note, Selene tells him that every time she thinks he's going to zig, he zags. Think of the horn and glory, and remember that he is hers. Frustrated, Rand demands to know if every woman is crazy and fervently wishes that Ingtar would show up.
This chapter wastes no time getting started. We jump right into a Trolloc attack. It's interesting that Rand is able to summon the void, sense Seden, but not be able to grasp it. And I'm wondering if this is just because of a lack of experience, or if it's maybe a block of some kind?
I think it's just there to show, that Rand is inexperienced and that he desperately needs a teacher.
Okay. All right.
I love that Rand's first instinct is that we have to get back to Huron.
Yeah.
He knows Huron is alone in the inn, and Rand wants to make sure he's okay.
Yeah. Looking out for his guy.
Yeah.
So I always forget that until this chapter, Loyal has not killed before. Like, we see the group fight all kinds of stuff on the journey into the Blight and the Eye of the World. And there's been plenty of action in the book so far. But Loyal manages to make it this far without killing something.
Yeah, and I mean, he's prepared to defend himself when they're in the portal world, and he grows himself that quarterstaff. So he's gearing up, but yeah, this is a line he hasn't crossed yet.
And I love how Jordan wraps the reality of how shaken Loyal is by this with the urgency of Rand that they have to get moving.
Yeah.
It makes it feel real to me in that way. Just like in real life, Loyal needs to process this, but doesn't have the time in the moment.
Yeah, definitely.
So I may be a little dense here, but weren't the Trollocs sent by Lanfear? Like, is she using them to force Rand to blow the horn, or is this actually Fane's group?
I don't know. Rand says that Fane knows he's out there somewhere and he sent them, but Rand's not a reliable narrator.
Right.
You know, obviously he doesn't know that Lanfear is in play, so he thinks Fane's the only one that could have sent the Trollocs. It could be that Lanfear just took advantage of the situation, but I don't know for sure. I don't remember if we get confirmation one way or the other.
It just seems very much like her to set up another situation where Rand has to, like, be the hero.
True. But we do know that Fane is there. So it could be either. I'm really not sure. The Trollocs are herding Rand and Loyal to the edge of the fort gate. And it's so frustrating because they can hear the sounds of the other people.
Yeah.
And they're trying so hard to get to the crowds where they'll be safe. But the Trollocs keep blocking their path. It's a nightmare scenario that I find it really striking, and I can easily mentally put myself in a similar predicament where you can see safety, but it's just out of reach and the danger keeps closing in.
Yeah.
When Loyal says, Rand, there's nowhere else to go, it's so disheartening and terrifying at the same time.
Totally.
Really well done.
It occurred to me this time around that Illuminators are like magicians of Randland. What they do is based very much on physical and chemical science, but they shroud what they do in so much secrecy and mystery that it becomes very magical to the outsiders. Not important to the story, but it just struck me this time around.
Yeah. And once again, Loyal is trying to warn Rand about something important as Rand goes charging off, ignoring him.
Yeah.
It's like, Rand, dude, stop for a second and listen to the Ogier. He knows a thing or two.
You may have figured this out if you'd listened in the past, but no.
Right? No. Also, poor Loyal was not made for sneaking around. I love that the book says the Ogier crept along in a cloud of clatters and muttering. Well, because he keeps bumping into the racks of fireworks.
He's this huge guy, right?
I know, he's gigantic.
Like, it's literally the bull in a china shop is this Ogier walking through this like pit of fireworks all set up to explode.
Poor guy.
Yeah. We're stuck with Celine for this chapter.
Yeah.
But at least this visit is brief.
Yeah.
Celine actually punches Rand for throwing her to the ground to cover her from possible harm when the firework goes off. Mm-hmm. I get that she is frustrated because when she could use the power to protect herself, and so could Rand if he chose.
Right.
Being tossed to the ground and tackled by someone when you would have been just fine on your own is definitely a cause for frustration. But Rand does not know that what she's capable of. Uh-huh. And she has intentionally tried to hide it from him.
Right.
He's being chivalrous and trying to protect her, and she really frustrates me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Celine says, sometimes, if you are very still, no one can see you at all. I take this as confirmation that Lanfear was invisible in Faldara.
Yeah, totally. Definitely.
And our introduction to Eludra is short and to the point. Mm-hmm. She is a woman who does not suffer fools lightly and has no time for incompetence in other people. This is understandable since a single mistake can result in the loss of several people's lives.
Yeah.
She reads Tammuz the right act and is as tough as nails.
Yeah, and that does come to kind of bite her in the ass later.
It does a bit.
But whatever. I like that Rand seems to finally be getting sick of Celine's shtick.
Yeah.
Her constant talk of greatness is getting on his nerves, finally. And he's snapping back at her in this chapter, which I appreciate. Mm. He's not being ruled by his hormones anymore, so the thrall seems to have gone out of their relationship.
Yeah.
She still has some power over him, but not nearly to the same degree in earlier books.
Yeah, which is good.
Yeah.
Rand sets off the firework and blows away 3 Trollocs and sets the chapter house on fire in the process. Well done, Rand. But this leads us to Mat and Eludra's dragons, so I'm all for it.
So he's lucky he didn't kill himself.
Yeah, he's very lucky.
Like, he doesn't even get burned, which I don't think that's realistic.
Yeah, like when you actually see professional fireworks set up, the mortar-style launchers, they're like the actual military-level launchers. They launch these things up in the air. People cannot be around those things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I don't understand how Rand was holding this thing and managed not to get seriously injured. He should have blown his bits off. I mean, you know what I mean? Like,
well, that can't happen because later he wouldn't be... No, but yeah, he should have lost a finger or two, maybe.
At least.
So at the end of the chapter, Rand asks, are all women crazy? No, Rand. This one is just special.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that ends chapters 26 and 27 of The Great Hunt. Join us next week for chapters 28 and 29, where we catch back up with Mat and Perrin, and then the Shan-Chan.
We hope that you enjoyed this episode of the Wheel of Time Pod-Thru.
We'll see you again next week. Make sure that you rate and subscribe to us on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. You can leave us a positive review. It would really help us out. It makes it more easy for people to find us.
Yeah.
You can tweet us at Pod-Thru or email us at whatpodthru@gmail.com and tell us your thoughts on anything we covered today.
That's WOTPODTHRU@gmail.com. Thanks, everybody, and we hope the wheel weaves you in our direction again soon.